When I think about business, I think about my friend Ty and what he does and how he helps businesses really think outside of the box. Ty, I am so thrilled that we get to talk today about how capital is that game that successful business owners we have seen firsthand play and win the game.
Yeah, capital is the means to everything. I remember my days in corporate where we would do a business plan, right? We would start with the business plan in September and October and get that done. And then everything would be the numbers. We would have to make sure that we have 100% of the number side of the plan. And then we would have to adjust the plan to make the numbers because it's really the numbers that matter, right? We're in business to make money. We're in business for financial freedom. We're in business for security. And that those are the numbers. And so really making sure that you don't just know your numbers, but you know how to get to your numbers. You know what makes your numbers. You know how to pivot away when your numbers aren't where they need to be. Everything revolves around that.
Well, and guys, when you think about capital, a lot of us think capital in business is the same as when you're thinking about your personal finance, and they are not the same. Some of you manage your business like a checkbook, like your personal finances. And Ty, I've seen this fail time and time again because capital and what the business needs to do and produce a P&L statement, definitely how you approach your EIN number and how that business, creates opportunity and how you communicate that to lenders is totally different than what you would think about in your own personal life.
100%. And the reality is that, we are in this space right now where a lot of people are buying and selling companies. And I go through on a daily basis looking at companies and even though they are ready for sale, there's this gap on the financials. There's this, a bunch of add backs, or there's not a separation between personal expenses and business expenses, or they didn't do a good job of actually managing their P&L, or their tax return says zero, but their P&L says they made $500,000. There's just all of these discrepancies. And until you're going to sell a business, you don't know this is the case. But this is why it's important really to start with the end in mind, to kind of say, okay, in 5, 10, 15 years, I want to sell this business. So I'm going to structure it in a particular way. My P&Ls are going to match. My balance sheets are going to match. I'm going to use QuickBooks from the start. I'm going to make sure everything is being documented and managed accordingly. And so really and truly having that financial awareness, having that sense of planning, having that sense of numbers, having that sense of reporting, all of these things, KPIs, all of these things lead into your ability to manage your capital effectively, to then allow you to access capital. Because if you are selling your business and somebody's buying your business and the capital numbers aren't there, probably not going to happen, right? You're going to stay in the business for another year and try to manage it accordingly. Similarly, if you are trying to access capital to buy a business, you need to make sure that your tax returns aren't zeroed out, that you are showing that you can actually afford to buy a business and that you have the capacity to do so. So capital is the game of a successful business play.
And, as we think about your business, guys, and you're thinking about growth strategies, whether it's to acquire, whether it's to hire more people, maybe some of you are trying to expand locations. Maybe some of you are just trying to start to pay yourself. And so, you're trying to strategically make decisions based on your next goals. We want you to hear this one thing. In your business today, what took you where you are isn't the same thing that's going to get you to the next place. And that's why capital is the strategic decision that businesses use to make these leaps and jumps.
We all know that starting a business has a very high failure rate. Doesn't matter the industry, starting a business has a very high failure rate. And this world that we live in is overrun by social media and a lot of people running ads, and the noise, the ability for you to stand out in the market, whether in your industry or otherwise, has become so difficult and challenging. You have to pour hundreds of thousands of dollars behind it. And so starting the business and growing your brand and growing a business, not insurmountable, but very challenging. And in this respect, a lot of people have decided, okay, you know what, it's just easier for me to buy a business. Somebody else has gone through this process. Somebody else has spent the past 10, 15, 20 years building this brand, building this business, has solid cash flow. So I'll just buy that. And so that's becoming the route that a lot of people are taking. But even that, people don't know this. They come to me and they say, well, I want to buy a business. SBA exists, right? SBA is the predominant source of capital when you're looking to buy a business. Are there non-SBA lenders? Yes. Are they challenging and more difficult? Yes. Are they more expensive? Yes. Do they take a long time? Probably not, but they also still charge you a higher rate for that service and that fee. And the reason is that because SBA has told the market, hey, we'll underwrite businesses that make sense and we will support business acquisition. And so lenders are like, well, if the SBA is going to guarantee that for us, so why are we going to take the risk out on our own? And so there isn't very many products in the market that exist for non-SBA acquisitions.
Right.
As a result, what you find is that to get through the SBA process, you need a partner. You need somebody who can tell you, did you know that if you have the NAISC code of one company and that company is buying a company with a similar NAISC code, there's a potential for 0% down? Did you know that a 7A SBA loan can be done faster than a 504 SBA loan, which requires an appraisal, which sometimes takes up to 30 days to get?
Right.
Did you also know that if you buy a company, you need to be within a certain distance of that company? It used to be where you didn't have to be, but if you can't demonstrate that you're going to live in that company and operate it, SBA doesn't finance investment properties. So you have to make sure that you can explain how you're going to run and operate this business, both geographically and also with your skill set. So all of these are things that, having a partner who's doing this every day, all day, can support you when it comes to acquisitions. Similarly, can get you ready when it comes to an exit, and then help you from that end-to-end solution on getting ready for the sale, exiting the sale, having your buyer qualified for the sale, and then getting them in the position to be successful.
Exactly. So guys, as you think about this and really plan out what the Q2 is going to look like in the rest of the year, choosing a capital partner here at Fornex has always been 100% all in with Ty and what they do at One Global, because they understand what needs to happen in order for us to move the needle in our businesses. So Ty, what's the best way for them to connect and reach out to you and have that conversation about what they're trying to do in their business?
One of the things that's really important to understand too is this conversation costs you nothing. Engaging with us costs you nothing. We don't get paid until you get a check from the bank that says, here's your money to buy your business. And so as a result, we really encourage people to sign up. Go to buyer.oneglobalfinancing.com and sign up and let us know you want to have a 10, 15, 20-minute conversation. You're thinking about selling, you're thinking about buying, or you're ready to buy, or you have a buying situation that you haven't been able to solve, or you haven't been able to buy. Any of those scenarios that deal with capital, or you want to expand the business, you need a line of credit, you need a term loan, you need something to help you support your growth operations. Any of those things, you want to buy a building, you want to build a building, you want to buy an investment property. All of these are things, any capital need that you have, you can visit buyer.oneglobalfinancing.com. It's running across the screen. We will jump on a call with you and have a complimentary conversation, a complimentary engagement, and complimentary help you solve and source your capital without any fees.
Oh, Ty, thank you. And guys, the reason why we don't work with other capital partners, because they require you to pay. They require you to put money down almost in a retainer model before they even have a conversation with you. And then you're stuck paying them and you're stuck in this relationship that they really don't have any other solutions other than one.
Yeah. And they may not even be able to solve it because it's so nuanced. So that's why we don't charge you anything. We want to solve your problem first and show you what we can do and we don't get paid. Typically, we get paid by the lender. And because we have over, hundreds of them, we can give you the best deal without ever having to worry about pigeonholing you into what we think is the best for you because we get paid from it.
Perfect. Thanks again, Ty. And thanks so much for really being our capital partner at Fornex. Thank you.
Thanks, Shar.